Bring in former Trump transition team member, the founder of SkyBridge Capital, Anthony Scaramucci, with us this morning. Anthony, great to see you.
Great to be here, Maria.
Thank you so much for joining us, Anthony.
Gary, get out of my chair. Let's go.
He planned that line. He planned that.
I was trying to give you the heads up on that line.
I want to get your take on everything going on
Maria.
with regard to Obamacare and the repeal and the replace. But first, we've got to talk about you.
Sure.
We're all expecting you to get a job in the Trump administration. What's happening?
Well, that's my expectation as well. I mean, I've had several conversations with Steve Bannon and Chief of Staff Reince Priebus. Unfortunately, our business, SkyBridge Capital, very complex business, was sold on January 17th, likely to close April 15th, thereabout. And I think when you look at the potential issues around the business and the recusals, I think it's just better to cut cleanly, get the cash, and then, start the job.
So you're waiting for your deal to close before you can move forward?
Yeah, I think Reince Priebus and the White House counsel think that's the cleanest way to do it. And so just being very patient.
It makes sense, by the way.
Yeah.
How's he doing, Anthony? You've been around the Trump administration a lot, from campaign to election to transition. What do you hear?
The president loves the job. I mean, it's the perfect job for him. He likes, he's one of the most energetic people that you'll meet, probably one of the smartest people I've ever worked with. He's got a tremendous amount of energy, and he's trying to do everything at the same time, which is typical to his style. So, I mean, listen, I think he's going to be phenomenal. If you look at the first 50 days, Maria, and just think about directionally what he wants to do with regulation, taxes. We'll talk about health care in a second. And if you just think about the speech that he gave, the State of the Union address, it's a very inclusive speech. This is a president that wants to bring people together, unite the country around several common causes. But the biggest common cause is middle-class wages and lower middle-class wages. And I think if we put the right policies in place to improve that, it's going to be a phenomenal president.
I don't know. Have you ever seen anything like this, Caitlin? In 50 days, he doesn't even have his cabinet in place. There's so much obstructionism going on the left. And he's gotten all of this done?
Right. Well, a lot through executive order. My question, too, though, is now we're getting into legislation, into policy. This is where presidents really have some latitude here. I'm wondering, what do you think the president has on the line when it comes to health care? Because he's someone who not only campaigned on repealing and replacing it, but also campaigned as the negotiator, someone who can make great deals. But I've also talked to people who say, look, the accountability is on Congress. They've been campaigning on this for 7 years. They're the ones responsible for getting this through.
I think it's a combination of different things. I think, but just follow what the president is saying, even on Twitter, that there's a couple of phases here to health care.
Right.
What he'd like to do is put the plan out. You heard from Gary Cohen over the weekend. Let's see what the CBO says about the plan, and then you'll see a rationalization and an iteration of that plan. My guess is he'll get the plan done and passed pretty quickly. But the biggest issue will be, and I think Gary would agree with me, is tax reform.
Yeah.
And so what we've got to do is we've got to lay out the right policies prior to the August recess, because I know whether it's Steve Mnuchin, Gary Cohen, you pick the economic team, they really do want to get tax reform done in the first session here. So that's going to be the biggest issue.
I just wonder if Stephen Mnuchin and company are now taking expectations down, because all of a sudden now it's gone from, we're going to try to have this out by August to, well, August is really aggressive.
Yeah,
and
I think that's the game in Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I think
take expectations down.
I mean, most people here are New Yorkers, right? But I mean, in Washington, it is a totally different game.
Well, what do you think, Buck?
Yeah. Well, there are two interesting things, I think, with the health care bill. One is that President Trump has said that he'd even be willing, if there's this fighting that goes on within the Republicans, it doesn't go forward, to let Obamacare continue to fail for a while so that people really understand the full weight of what's been done here in the previous administration. Is that just negotiating? And also, he said that they might be willing to help primary some of these Republican members of Congress if they don't go along with this, part of the conservative caucus. Is that also just posturing, or you think he's serious?
I would let more bowling and more pizza take place before we go in that direction. I think at the end of the day right now, I think what the president basically wants is to help the American people. So both of those strategies are probably not going to help the American people. What will help the American people is let's get the plan in place. Let's find out what the CBO is saying. And as you guys know at this table, the president's a very, very smart negotiator, and he'll know how to cut a compromise and get a deal. One of the things that Reagan often said is, let's go for 80% of something instead of driving our car over the cliff looking for 100% with our flag waving as we head over the cliff and get absolutely nothing.
So all that Obamacare fail might be a negotiation, or might be setting.
I don't think any of us, I mean, I don't want to speak for the president directly, but just in the policy meetings that I've been in, I don't think any of us want that to happen, only because it's very, very harmful to the American people.
Anthony, you're still an insider, so let's try to make some news. Give us the backstory of everything that happened with Preet Bharara, in the sense that you were at Trump Tower, you were there pretty much every day when he came up. What actually happened? There was a meeting, there was the phone call
Did he tell Preet that he could stay?
Yeah, what do you make of this?
I have to be, I wasn't privy to those meetings, and so it's not clear to me what actually happened. Obviously, there's two sides to every story, Gary, but my guess is the president did make a decision between that meeting and this weekend that he wanted a clean house of all the Democratic nominees, which is quite typical. So I know there's a little bit of a brouhaha related to Preet, and obviously he's done a very good job, but I think the president and the attorney general want to put their own people in place. And I think it makes sense. And so I don't know why that's such a big deal, because President Obama wanted to do that, George W. Bush wanted to do that prior to that, and so did President
Do you have any idea who might get that position?
You have a law degree, Gary? Are you looking for it?
I don't. You went to Harvard Law School. That was also another setup. Yes, Anthony did go to Harvard Law School.
Well, by the way, Judge Napolitano just told us that the president called Preet Bharara Thursday, and he didn't take the call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that. Listen, I don't know enough about that topic, so I can't say. He's done a very good job. There's probably some politicians here in New York that are celebrating the fact he's not going to.
By the way,
just to be clear, he said it's government protocol that he does not speak directly to the president.
Okay.
Which is probably factually true.
Which is what Loretta Lynch should have done when Bill Clinton said, "Let me meet you on your plane."
You know, you talk a lot about politics a lot. What are your thoughts about the markets right now? I haven't heard you talk about the markets at all. Well, you did tweet out. You did tweet out, right, that the markets are up significantly and the jobs numbers reflecting the Trump economy.
Trump rally.
Well, listen. I mean, the problem when you say Trump rally, as we all know, is that when the market starts to roll over, we don't want to blame the president for that either. But when you think about expectations, Gary, and you know, markets run on expectations. I've been listening to you this morning about late cycle issues related to the market. You may be right, but if they do get the tax increase through, and you see a 20
tax cut?
The tax cut. I apologize. If you see the tax cut and you get a 20 to 25% increase in earnings for businesses large and small, then you look at the valuation metrics in the market. There's probably a little bit more ways to run. So my opinion is they will get that tax cut done. The market certainly thinks that. You and I are close to David Tepper. David is very bullish right now. He doesn't think this thing is late cycle. So
that's what Spallanzani just said to us, too.
Yeah, so I would probably go in that direction. But you know, you're making a good point about these mergers, and you and I have been scarred by the late 90s. You know,
that's right.
Scarred meaning you lost money on deals?
Yeah, we lost money. We were riding high.
Anthony Scaramucci and Gary.
We were acquired a couple times in our lives also in late cycle deals, you know? So, yes.
Like right now?
Scaramucci, great to see you.
Yeah.
We'll be watching the developments for your job. Anthony Scaramucci.